Loot boxes continue to be heavily scrutinized, though as a result of that scrutiny, loot boxes definitely have been scaled back from a lot of video game releases over the past years. I feel like they've definitely been pushed back, though not completely eradicated. They're still prominent in the mobile market, and they're still very prominent in sports games. And that's an area where EA especially faces a lot of scrutiny because of their Ultimate Team mode and the card packs, which are pay-to-win loot boxes that encourage people to spend money if they want to keep up when it comes to competition. And so now EA is facing a class action lawsuit as relayed by VideoGameChronicle.com. The headline reads, EA faces a class action lawsuit over Ultimate Team loot boxes. Case claims FIFA is in violation of California law. So here's the body of the article. A class action lawsuit has been brought against Electronic Arts in California, claiming that the publisher's Ultimate Team modes breach the state's gambling laws. Ultimate Team is, of course, a mode that's included in pretty much every EA Sports title, and straight up just incentivizes players to gamble for the best players, like Lionel Messi or whatever, so that they can have a competitive edge. And also, they're players who are attached to these soccer players, these very famous individuals, and so some people just want the player itself because of the fact that they're fans of him or whatever, and that's also exploited to have them continuously spin that slot machine. The article then adds, EA Ultimate Team packs used in the FIFA and Madden games constitute gambling in violation of California law, plaintiff Kevin Ramirez alleges in court documents seen by VGC. And apparently, Ramirez is calling for EA to pay damages of $5 million, which is a significant chunk of money. Maybe not for EA. For EA, $5 million is like chump change. But EA definitely doesn't want to concede in any way in a case like this, because that would legitimize the argument that loot boxes are in fact gambling, which they are, but the law hasn't caught up. Cases haven't set a precedent for loot boxes being labeled as gambling, but EA certainly continues to face pressure from all of these different people and outlets and government bodies, and that's always a good thing. The case was brought by Ramirez on behalf of a proposed class of more than 100 others on August 13th in the Northern District of California. So this isn't just one guy who went to a lawyer. This is essentially a group effort. Over 100 people are essentially joining forces to engage with this class action lawsuit, and we'll have to wait and see if it goes anywhere. But the class action lawsuit alleges that EA relies on creating addictive behaviors in consumers to generate huge revenues, and that EA's Ultimate Team packs are predatory and designed to entice gamers to gamble. All of this is 100% true. This is pretty much fact. There's plenty of evidence suggesting that this is indeed the case. It's just a matter of the law catching up and game companies actually admitting what is factually correct. The case also claims that EA's Ultimate Team packs are loot boxes. Buying the packs are nothing more than a gambling bet. 100% true. Purchased using real money, the Ultimate Team packs are simply wagers on completely randomized chances within the game to win valuable professional players and other items for the EA Gamers virtual sports team. Ramirez claims he has been induced to spend money to purchase Ultimate Team packs, and estimates he has spent in excess of $600 in FIFA and Madden since 2011. This isn't even the worst of it. There are people who spend thousands of dollars in just a year. For a lot of people, the Ultimate Team mode and obtaining these prominent players will become an obsession that overwrites basic needs, essentially. So they'll take their paycheck and spend all their money on Ultimate Team card packs. And I'll repeat again that addiction isn't just a switch you can turn on and off. There are people whose brains are essentially wired in such a way where these kinds of surprise mechanics, as EA likes to call them, are essentially directly targeted at them, and it's incredibly difficult for these people to get out of this habit, this compulsion. Now, this case will entirely ride on what the definition of gambling is in California, and in quotations, here's how the article put it. California's definition of gambling defines an illegal gambling device as a machine, aperture, or device, something of value is given to play, and the player may receive something of value by element of chance. Now, the term value here is very important because there is a difference between monetary value and something that is what I like to call emotional value. Something that isn't worth money, but is something that players are emotionally invested enough that for them it's worth spending money on. And it'll be a matter of whether, something that has emotional value is covered by California's definition of gambling. But even if it weren't, the fact of the matter is that FIFA card packs and the contents and, the different player cards that you obtain through Ultimate Team, they can be cashed out. Even if not officially, through EA, the fact of the matter is that there are third-party websites where you can take these card packs and make some money off of them. And although it's a third-party platform that isn't officially approved, it still doesn't change the fact that FIFA is a platform for gambling-like elements that allow you to monetize the gambling itself. It isn't just emotional value gambling. We're talking about financial value gambling as well. Even if EA didn't intend for this to happen, it doesn't matter. It's a fact, and that should be taken into consideration when this case is brought to light. The filing adds, none of these elements can be in dispute. A gamer uses his console, computer, smartphone, or tablet with the EA Sports franchise game on it. The gamer pays real-world currency for the opportunity to open an Ultimate Team pack, and the Ultimate Team pack is a randomized chance to win something valuable in game. Yep, looking at California's definition of gambling at face value, what the filing says here is, 100% on the money. Though again, whether the term value is defined as something with monetary worth or something that people simply desire, regardless of whether it can be cashed out or not, will, I think, play a large part in the result of this case. But Video Game Chronicle aptly points out that there is currently no legal consensus in the US on whether loot boxes constitute gambling. But regardless of the current state of the law in relation to loot boxes, the fact remains that, colloquially speaking, loot boxes are full-on gambling, and people have fallen for its trap and become addicted to it, gamble their money away just so they can get, Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo or whatever prominent player they want. And even after spending hundreds, thousands, they would not get that desired player because the odds have been purposely set up in such a way that they're damn near impossible to obtain unless you keep rolling the slot machine and you keep spending hundreds and thousands. That's harmful. Regardless of how the law defines loot boxes, the fact remains that loot boxes are harmful, both psychologically and financially, and they need to be regulated because right now they're running amok. That fact doesn't change. The law needs to be updated to reflect loot boxes so that companies are held accountable for the harm that they may end up causing. Fortunately, pressure to regulate or ban loot boxes, it's still going. So just a couple days ago, back on August 11th, Australia released a study finding that loot box purchasers are more prone to gambling problems. Back in July 2nd, 2020, UK's House of Lords called for the immediate regulation of loot boxes under gambling laws, and this is the report that they released, and they say stuff like the government must act immediately to bring loot boxes within the remit of gambling legislation and regulation. Back in January 2020, the National Health Service mental health director called for loot box ban. Back in October 2019, the Children's Commissioner for England agreed that loot boxes need to be banned, releasing a full report back in October with a number of testimonials from teenagers who engaged with FIFA and found that the game actively goaded them into spending money if they wanted to keep up with the competition. And then a month prior to that, on September 2019, the parliamentary in UK recommended banning loot boxes and to stop selling them to children. A month prior to that, back in September 2019, the Digital Culture, Media, and Sport Committee published its 84-page report into immersive and addictive technologies and recommended banning loot box sales to children. Back in June 2019, we got that hearing with the UK Parliament where EA touted that they're not loot boxes, they're surprise mechanics, much to their ridicule and humiliation. And, the year prior, Belgium actually actually full-on decided to ban loot boxes or prosecute them as if they were part of gambling laws. Netherlands did something similar. Over the years, we have seen reports of kids emptying their parents' bank account playing FIFA crop up via outlets like the BBC. Plenty of games have done the same, and here's a report that highlights all of the mobile titles and various prominent games that have just led to kids spending en masse without realizing what they were doing and the financial harm they were causing, because they're just kids and don't fully comprehend what they're doing. And the FTC in the US has gotten involved. This is from August 14th, 2020. They're looking into loot boxes, researching and trying to deliberate on how to handle them. There is active research going on in order to ensure that they can find some kind of good way to keep them at bay. And, back in May 2019, we had heard about an anti-loot box bill that garnered bipartisan support in the Senate. And honestly, I'm just scratching the surface here. I've covered so many other stories from a wide variety of different countries. The fact remains that pressure is not letting up on companies like EA. Sports titles, I think, will eventually have to change their business model, lest these companies get into a whole lot of legal trouble. I'll be honest with you, I don't know if this class action lawsuit will go anywhere, if this is something that will just end up fizzling out, or if this is something that the plaintiffs are taking seriously. But either way, any kind of pressure is good. And assuming that this is something that Ramirez here and the 100 others are 100% committed to, I wish them nothing but the best. It's not going to be an easy battle, given the hundreds of millions, the billions that Ultimate Team makes EA. They're not going to give this up easily. But if this ends up going anywhere, if they somehow end up winning this, it could set a precedent such that companies like EA and sports games like FIFA won't be able to get away with just selling gambling unregulated and labeling the game as kids-friendly, so that they won't be able to tweak the odds of obtaining certain valuable players however they want, and stack the chances against players in such a way that even spending hundreds and thousands of dollars won't yield any substantial results. The list just goes on and on. But even if this lawsuit doesn't yield desired results, any reason to apply pressure to EA about this matter is a good thing. Any reason to keep bringing this issue up and spotlighting the fact that loot boxes are still prominent enough where they need to continue to be talked about, I am 100% for. But that's just one man's take on this situation, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this class action lawsuit levied against Electronic Arts in California. Their claims that Electronic Arts via Ultimate Team loot boxes is violating California gambling laws. Drop a comment, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.